Who are plugin emulations for? Really, they're for everyone. You know, I'll use plugin emulations. Even though I've got all this hardware, I'll still use plugin emulations. I think plugin emulations are for people who cannot justify spending mad amounts of money on the hardware and want a little piece. It's a piece of what the hardware sounds like. It's a piece of what the hardware feels like. It's very much a piece of that hardware. It's not the hardware. For instance, I did the video on the lull, comparing the lull to the plugin, and fundamentally they sound similar. They achieve similar goals. They just don't sound. One sounds like a plugin, one sounds like hardware. You know, that's always the case, and that's the same when it comes down to mixing tracks, mastering tracks. That one sounds like it's done with plugins. That one sounds like it's done with analog. The reason and the thing that makes plugins makes them worthwhile to a lot of people is people can justify spending £50 on a plugin emulation. They can't justify spending 8,800 on a limiter, but they can justify spending I think it's $69, £60, something like that, for the plugin version of that. Now, if I weren't making money in the music industry, I would be buying the plugin. I would want to have the hardware, but I would buy the plugin because I can't justify that. Like I can justify having one of these in every studio. I've got one in Studio A and I've got one in here in Studio B. I can justify that because I'm offering a service, and the service is high-end audio mixing, mastering, and people come to me for a certain level of sound. So I want to have, and I can justify having lots of pieces of hardware that achieve the client a better sound than what they otherwise would get using a plugin. Look, if the plugin was bang on identical, if all these plugins could achieve, all these plugin emulations, if they could achieve the same end result and sound exactly like the hardware, do you not think I'd save my money? And do you know what? I probably wouldn't, to be honest. If I'm honest with myself, I don't think I would. I yearn and I want hardware. I want to be surrounded by hardware. Yeah, so yeah, that's the honest opinion, actually. But plugins do serve a purpose. They serve a purpose for people who can't justify spending mad amounts of money on hardware, and hardware is expensive. And you will get people who will say, the plugin emulation is exactly the same as the hardware. Then they will say that. And look, some of them do come relatively close, but they don't sound the same. They just don't sound the same. And you can match everything identically, and you can get it to sound and react in a very similar way, and it sound pretty much there. Even if it's 95% there, there's a sound with analog hardware that you get with this 3D image in comparison, tighter low end, brilliant highs. You can do all this with hardware, and you don't quite get that with the plugin. And that's understandable. You're comparing something that costs mad amounts of money versus something that's on sale for $29. So when it comes to those sorts of things, the plugin massively serves a purpose. It serves a purpose for people who can't justify spending that sort of money. So plugin emulations are good. And one thing I do find with plugin emulations, I mentioned this to Christoph at Hum when I was having a conversation with him just after the release of the Hum Audio Low plugin. I said to him, look, the plugin sounds brilliant, and people are going to use it. People are going to get to experience just how good it is. And then once they realize how good it is, a video like mine shows them just how good the hardware is, that little bit better. people will go out and they'll think about, you know what, I can justify buying that hardware, but now I know how it sounds. Very similar to the Black Box HGQ. Now, the Black Box HGQ released as a plugin first, and it hasn't actually released as a piece of hardware yet. But what it allowed me to do was go and experience somewhat of what it sounds like. I can get a gauge of what it sounds like. I can get a gauge of if I can use it in a session, how would I use it? I can understand the hardware a lot better. I can then know that once it releases, it's £6,000, and I'll go, right, yeah, I'll have one of them because I know how good it sounds and I know how I'm going to use it, and I already know it's going to fit in the chain. So I really did like that way that they release the plugin first and then they're going to release the hardware. I do like that. So yeah, look, all it comes down to is, can you justify spending mad amounts of money on hardware? If not, the plugin serves that purpose for you. It allows everybody to get somewhat a piece of what all this sort of equipment does. So yeah, plugin emulations are good. I like plugin emulations. I like what they do for the analog world, because one thing actually that it does do is I get a lot of people come to me for mastering and mixing, right? They come to me and they say to me, oh, I really liked the SPO iron. I see you've got an SPO iron. Oh, I really want to have my track run through your actual real hardware version because I like what the plugin sounds like. Same with the Unfair Child, same with the Alicia Alpha, same with the Shadow Hills. You know, I get that a lot. People come and they know the plugin, and look, everybody, when they are honest with themselves, they know 100%, if they're honest with themselves, that the hardware has a better sound. We all know that. And I think there's a lot of people that aren't honest with themselves and they say, nah, it's 1-for-1. It's not 1-for-1. It's really not. But it's close enough. And this is the thing, $29 versus like $6,000. It's, you know, there you cannot expect the plugin to be identical. And I've not tested a single plugin against the piece of hardware and gone, oh, that sounds identical. I think one of the closest ones was the Alicia Muse EQ, or the Musek. That was actually really close. I thought that was pretty close. But EQs can be emulated really well. Like the emulation, I've got the Hendy Amps Michelangelo XL, and the plug-in version of that, it captures everything that piece of hardware captures. It has this kind of sound that is very similar, but it's not the same thing. And anyone that tells you it's the same thing, yeah, they're kind of lying to you. Or they just look, they might not be lying to you. They might just be not be able to hear it, or they're lying to themselves. So yeah, plugin emulations are good. I like plugin emulations. I like using plugin emulations sometimes in the mix, you know, because like here's an actual example of the Hum Audio Lull. I've started, since that came out, I've started using it inside the mix, and if I was to use 10 instances of the hardware inside a mix, it cost me 80 grand, you know. But the plugin serves that purpose of being able to just go, right, I don't, it doesn't matter how many instances I use, I can use as many as I want. A way I'm kind of looking at it is I can use within the mix, I can use different plugin emulations, and then when it comes over to the master and then onto the mix buses and the like drum bus and the bass bus, that's where the analog glow can get implemented. But yeah, plugin emulations serve a purpose. I think we can all agree they're not a bad thing. I like a plugin emulation.